Good morning. It's another day coming up on the 4th of July. Um, I I just wanted to make a video about, talk. I don't really have any particular subject to write about. I know to talk about the one that's kind of on my mind this morning is the divine law of marriage is the antidote to all sexual misconduct, any sexual misconduct. The only healthy sexual, the only healthy outlet for yours, because everybody has sexual desire, that's normal and natural and healthy. But how we express that in our lives is voluntary. And it's a pretty tough subject, because these are very powerful instincts and if you get off to a bad start when you're a kid and you get these bad habits, it's really hard to change those habits, and but those rules, that divine law of marriage, it's a permanent, thing, and it's part of the fabric of the universe is the divine law of marriage. And so men and women get married to each other and they have kids and they raise the kids with the help of their family and their community and the whole entire human race, all working together, raising kids and raising the next generation. And and it's really important that we take responsibility for that, and don't let our kids grow up wild. Civilized human beings. It's just like the difference between a wild animal and a civilized human being is the rule of law. You have to follow the rules, and God makes the rules. When we follow the rules made by God, we prosper, and when we make up our own rules, then that's kind of the end of the prosperity. And it's, and one of those rules is the divine law of marriage, and it just is what it is. It's not, God isn't trying to be mean or anything like that. It's just, that's the way. It's just like the law of gravity, and the speed of light. It just is what it is, and God made us that way. He made the universe that way. Biology. It's throughout biology and everything, and so it's important that we follow that in our lives and practice it in our lives, that divine law of marriage. And another thing I was thinking about this morning is this whole idea of, there's this, like, Hollywood calls it the Force. Believers call it the Lord God or the Supreme Being. The witches call it the astral plane. Physicists call it the one unified field. And everything comes from this one unified field. This, and it's the vibrations. Vibration is heat. It's the super strings. Everything is made out of super strings, and all they are is vibrations. And these vibrations, and it has to do with time. I just watched a video yesterday. This is what got me thinking about this, about how time. It's like gravity. The space-time continuum. Time makes gravity, which is kind of an interesting idea, because I got this book called Mass because I was really kind of interested. Okay, what causes mass? What is mass? But the very first beginning, you say, "Oh, there's no God," So that kind of, like, I never even finished the book. I've started reading it twice, and both times I'm like, he's like some kind of a, I don't know. I couldn't finish reading it because of what he had to say about that. Science can't prove there's no God. Science can't prove there is a God or not. God, there's no proof. That's why they call it the faith. And so anyway, I wasn't really much interested in what he had to say about anything else once he said that. But so because when you read, you seek the truth. I heard this one guy say, be open-minded, but don't be so open-minded that your brains fall out. There's, if somebody's saying something that I know is contradicting the truth about God and everything like that, then I don't read that stuff. Once I realize, see what's going on, I've run into several books about like that. Like, for example, the one about witchcraft. I read a book about witchcraft, and I've read a couple books about witchcraft, and I've, basically what they're saying is they learn how these spells and stuff like that to manipulate the astral plane. The astral plane is the power, and they use these spells to manipulate that power and cause it to do things they want it to do. And well, that's putting yourself above God. You're going to kind of tell God what to do, and that's not a good idea. I'm telling you right now. There is one man-made religion on earth, and that's it, man, is witchcraft. Everybody wants to talk about how the religion of God is made by man. No, it's the religion of God is made by God. And the way, one of the ways you can tell the difference between man-made religion and the religion of God is that civilizations arise based on the religion of God. And there was a time way back when shamans and stuff like that were a good idea, and that was our first exploration of spirituality. And we found out, different things, and that's all good. But what they call neo-paganism, what's this trying to go back to that is like trying to go back to kindergarten, and it's just dumb. It's not right, and it's wrong. And because we've advanced, we've learned, and God has talked to us and taught us the truth. And it's up to us to seek that truth and follow it in our lives. And so, and one of the things I struggle with right now is the whole finance, money issue. Finance and romance has always been the two big things that people have to deal with in their lives. And the divine law of marriage is the solution to the romance problem. The finance problem, I think there's a big change coming up, because all the manifestations of God kind of say the same thing about it, like you should not even worry about that and stuff like that, and different things going on. I actually believe that the free and open source software is actually an opening into an entirely new way of economics, form of economics. And it has to do with cooperation and one world unity. We're all in this together. Let's all work together on one team. And yeah, we're going to have trade and private property. I think private property is a good idea, because there's that whole self-preservation instinct, okay, that is natural and healthy, and people need to do, and it's how that is expressed that is important and significant. The best analogy I've seen about how the difference between an animal and a civilized human being is the aircraft. We build machines that fly by actually discovering and following the natural laws of aerodynamics. We watch the birds flying around, and we figure, hey, how did they do that? And I wish I could do that, and so we finally, after a long, trying for a long time, we finally figured out how to build machines that fly. It had to do with speed, which is motion, which is time. You know, motion is changing position over time. And so you have to have a certain speed in order to fly. And so, so it all has to do, all these things interact with each other. And apparently what's going on with the superstrings is that they attract each other by slowing the time down, and so they clump together and they form atoms and molecules and planets and solar systems and stars. And the more the more particles there are, the more mass. Basically, what it's saying, the impression I'm getting is it's slowing down time is what causes mass. And it's all these superstrings accumulating in clumps. They clump together. Anyway, so we build these machines by following the natural laws of aerodynamics, flying machines. And it's the same thing with civilization. We build civilizations by following certain natural laws. They're natural laws. They exist whether we believe in them or not. And faith, hope, and love are the natural laws of civilization and human nature and civilization. And Islam means submission to God. That's the inner essence of every true religion, is submission to God, that there is a God, and that submission to that God and following those divine rules that's civilized human nature. And when we do that, we prosper and we build civilizations and families and individuals. Everybody prospers. And and it's the more fair it is. That's why I'm thinking there is not even going to be money. I just got this feeling that the whole idea of Star Trek, I guess, has that same idea. But the impression I get from reading the writings, all the religious, studying the religious writings and thinking about different things, the whole debate between free and open source software and capitalism, because I like capitalism. It's been very successful. It's produced more prosperity. I mean, I'm so happy to ride around in a car instead of riding around in a horse-drawn wagon. And so, capitalism is a good thing. It's like the goose that lays the golden eggs. But one of the things it does, though, is it has this feature of the income inequality. And I'm not talking about, there's a certain amount of that is going to be natural, but the way it is where you get these billionaires accumulating billions of dollars while there's people living on the streets, that's not natural or healthy or moral or ethical or anything. And so there's some serious defects in the Western civilization and capitalism, and because I like the free market, I like free enterprise, I like private property and free enterprise, and I want that to work. It has to be well regulated, and right now it's not very well regulated. It's just a bunch of selfish control freaks that think they're smarter than everybody else and they ought to be able to tell everybody else what to do. And to me, that won't last very long. The sooner we solve that problem, the better for all mankind. And it's going to be, we live in the United Nations is the richest, greatest civilization in human history. And it's with the prosperity, we produce more prosperity for more people than ever before in human history. It's not perfect. We've got a lot of progress to make. We've made a lot of progress and we have a lot of progress to make. And so I'm just teaching you, a few things. The divine law of marriage is one of those rules that you follow to make a sustainable civilization. And there's lots of different sexual, pornography, all kinds of weird sexual dysfunction. And the divine law of marriage is the solution to it. And it should be taught in society, by our laws, in schools, everywhere. Our parents, and in a gentle, kind way too. I'm not talking about being mean and forcing anyone to do anything. What you do in your private time is none of my business, and what I do in my private time is none of your business, and that's the way it should be. Although if you're harming your, like, say, your spouse or something like that, or your children, then that kind of overrides that privacy right. The right to privacy it's a universal human right, is the right to privacy. And but that doesn't give you a right to harm anyone, not even your own kids or your wife or your husband or anything like that. So practice harmlessness in your life, and make the world a better place. Work on being productive. You got to be productive. That's another one of those rules, those divine rules of human nature. The divine law of nature. And you have to be productive to be healthy. You have to be produce something valuable and trade it in the free marketplace. I'm not exactly, I think there's a big change coming. I know the whole great reset, I kind of think there's a bunch of control freaks, and they're probably going to be instrumental in causing the change to happen. But I think God is in charge, whether they believe it or not, and he's doing things, and he's, for God, the whole entire human race is one thing. It's his garden. Earth is his garden. He's doing whatever he wants to do. He created the rules, and life is evolving according to those rules. And there will be a divine civilization on this planet in the relatively near future, I think by the end of this century, there's going to be one world civilization that is peaceful and prosperous, and everybody's peaceful and prosperous. There's no super rich people, and there's no poor people, and everybody will be prosperous. And I think that's coming, and I don't know the exact details of what it's going to look like. I just think it's going to be a great civilization, and it'll last from now on, basically. And instead of civilization, going through this cycle of rising and falling, and disintegrating, where you get a civilization that rises up and lasts for 1,000 years or whatever, however long civilizations last. There's the 250-year cycle, and it's actually 270 years, but there's a whole bunch of different cycles, and civilization is rise and fall throughout human history. That stage of human history is coming to an end, and there's a new stage where this civilization will just last forever. And there's still going to be manifestations of God are going to appear every 1,000 years or so, reveal a new revelation of the Word of God, and civilization will just advance. A huge advancement of civilization every time, but the civilization won't end. It'll just keep advancing, and so I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll be. It's just fun. Life on Earth is an adventure. It's fun, and I enjoy it. And you should enjoy it. It's fun. Make sure you're having fun, and play. Always make sure you're playing. Make sure them kids kids need love and affection, and take care of them. Make sure they get a good education, and play. and have fun, make your life an adventure. So have a great day, and peace be with you.